Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. About to go ahead and get this party started on a roll. So, if you have not seen my most recent post, definitely go ahead and check that most recent post out. Just another example of show and prove. So, this week I told people specifically that we would come to see Alibaba take this big move. Let's discuss it and go over it though. Shout out to all the people that's tapping in. If you heard, um, me say this, and this is why I say like everything should be documented. You should be able to full transparency, be able to see and understand the move and the concept. So what I told people directly was make sure you go in and come back out. Everyone should be able to hear. What I specifically told people was that we were going to see Alibaba break to this upside and that the move would come and happen after hours. So Alibaba is not a ticker that moves pre-market, right? It's just not a ticker that moves. I mean, it's not a ticker that moves intraday. It's more of a ticker that moves in the pre-market hours or the post-market time. So I told people directly, once again, I told people directly, Alibaba would go up $10 to $15 after hours. I said it right here. We're gonna play this clip back just so everyone can actually hear and see and hear me break it down. This was just on Zoom yesterday. So this is an opportunity. Yep. Hmm. So how many people took advantage of Alibaba off of my recommendation and me speaking on it? We're not going to talk about Klarna right now. We'll get to that in a second. We want to talk Baba. This is one of the main things that I want people to understand when we talk about high probability setups. The information a lot of times is right here. I couldn't spell it out any further than what I did, what I illustrated, and that's the piece. I told people specifically that Alibaba would move post hours. That I told people, I said, you have this is one of those positions you just have to be in. Now it ended up being that we moved all the way up here so far. I said this plain as day on the live. This is why I said like all these other places that's talking about theory and all this stuff. There's no fluff to this. It's show and prove, strike expiration date, targets, etc. And the thing about with Alibaba, the reason why I highlighted this after trading Alibaba for almost a decade now, 8 years in total of me trading Alibaba. So I understand how it moves. Alibaba never moves during the intraday because it's a Chinese company. So the Asian markets are usually what gets it kickstarted anytime a major move happens. Now, we weren't really expecting it to necessarily happen today. But if you listen to what I was saying, I kept saying, this is one of those you just have to be in because when it moves, it's going to move. And if you're not in, it's going to move without you. So now Alibaba is up $13. And as I told people, it doesn't need the United States stock market to move. It will move on its own. So this is why I say I just have to highlight it. Class is getting ready to open up and start. We're live on class now. The Zoom is ready and open, live on class now. So I think this is just another good opportunity for people to be able to see. I woke up this morning, went to the gym, but I had about 15 text messages and DMs from people that's in Alibaba right now. I hopped on the phone with a new client and said, "Yo, this is what the person told me." I'm not gonna put his name out here, but he called me and he said, "Man, I ain't even joined the program yet, but I just been following you. I made 15,000 and my friend made 10,000." He said, "Yo, I'm ready to join the program. Send me the invoice." That person joined the program this morning at 6:45 a.m. Show and prove. So this is why I say when you're really paying attention and listening, this is why I don't give too much. I try not to give too much leeway to people that saying they didn't hear this, they didn't hear that, because all of this stuff is documented and is shared, and we go over it numerous of times. But when people say, "Oh, well, I missed that," the piece about why people are missing it is because they're not rewinding the tape. You can tell anytime you come on a Zoom that I've done, you can literally see, right? I'm about to let some people in here now. Any Zoom that I have, let me let everybody in now in the Zoom. We can always go back and run the
Hey
tape.
man,
We can always go run the tape. Always go run the tape back. That's all we doing right now is running the tape back. Because anytime you get on a Zoom call that I have, it's going to tell you that the host can see who's all watching the videos. It tells that plain as day. So I know some people is like, hey, but when I see the same names over and over again that's watching the videos, it just goes to show who's paying attention. You know, the position was given out all the way back at 120. And we're just keeping it all the way funky. The position was given all the way back out at 120. When it broke through 150, that's when we reinforced the position as well. So all that information is there. And I said, hey, once again, you gotta get in on the pre-market side. Which I mean, you gotta get in now because on the pre-market side is when it's going to blow. Let's roll the tape back. This is minute 37 yesterday, just a reinforcement. 37 to 30 seconds. We're gonna let it play. Let's let it play. Hold on 1 second now. I don't want to play. There we go. Boom, right there. We're gonna pause it. I told people once again, Baba would not move during market hours. It's not an intraday mover. Let's let it play. Boom. I said you're gonna wake up one morning and Baba's gonna be up $10 after hours. You actually got 15. So you got more than what I projected. Now it already knocking at the door of 180. To me, that 182 level is perfect take profit area. For my people that's a little bit more risk averse, hey, it's up 8%. So might as well take your bag off the table. But this is just prime example of boom, I said it right there. You could see Baba up and the rest of the market may be red, right? Or not moving in a strong direction. You think about it like this stock, the NASDAQ ain't up 3% today, but Baba's up 8%. So, yes, of course, if the market is to pull back, Baba can see some bloodshed, but the Asian markets are churning right now. So you had the Asian markets that are churning here to this upside. So a lot of good move there. So the market's about to open. That's just pretty much our warm up. But make sure that you're tapping into the Zooms here. All of these Zooms, the main tabs to go to. If you miss a call, the tabs will have the date, right? So depending upon what session it was, it had a date. Some sessions will be put in two different places just so I make sure you see it. If I'm a beginner, I would go and make sure that I'm watching all of these trainings here that's underneath this tab. But a lot of this stuff is right in front of people. But you gotta be once again, the people that's on the Zooms, the shout out to Tiffany's, the Cleves, like shout out to Miss Lakita. I had the pleasure to see her in Brooklyn this past weekend. Right. And if I'm forgetting anybody's name, ding, 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 the market just opened up. So go make sure you're looking at this right now and going to Alibaba. If you have a Baba position, please look to take that off the board today. Once again, we don't make the rules as to when certain things are going to happen and break out. But like I said before on yesterday's call, Alibaba would move when it was ready to. And this is one that you just kind of, my exact words is you have to just be in the catch because boom. And then funny enough, it just played out today. No one was anticipating it. Not myself. No one was really anticipating that today would be the day that would take that next move. But that's the piece that sometimes you just got to be in with time to really catch the move. We can't time it always to the T perfect, But this is just another prime example of just making sure that you're being attentive and paying attention to things. So that's that for Alibaba. I really don't want to talk about them anymore. We move on from it now. So that's the last time I'll speak about Alibaba for some time. Now, let's go to some tickers that we do see a strong. Let's talk about our next movers, right? So, done with Alibaba, take your profits, wash your hands with it, and it's over with, right? And
Yeah.
when you look at AMD, right? So, I had a falling wedge pattern here on AMD. It started to poke out yesterday, but now we see AMD where we're gotten back up here to this upside right here at 164.66. So we're breaking out on AMD. I want to showcase this. AMD got sold off last week when Nvidia announced that they were vested in Intel. They were going to put up 5 billion in Intel. So that's what sold AMD to the downside. As AMD pulled back down, it dropped all the way to 150. It was able to hold there. So it formed a nice solid base there, which ended up being turning into a DB. It wasn't a textbook double bottom, but nonetheless, it ended up becoming a DB. And we could see that here. So that's why we reversed out of this level. So we're up about $14 since then. This double bottom pattern we're here on a daily time frame. So looking on AMD, if we can get a move back above 170, this thing will push up higher. So as far as Alibaba, guys, take your money. You can keep a runner on Alibaba if you so choose to. I still think more upside. I don't think this is it for Alibaba, but as far as discussing it, I don't really want to talk about it unless it's getting over 182. That'll be the next time. But I think this is a good point to take your bread, leave a runner if you so choose to. But yeah, as far as if you were in shares, definitely not done. Options wise, I mean, if you got some time, if you're in some October calls, I would say take your money. If you're in January, leave a runner. That's my thoughts on Alibaba. Right. So looking at, and that's it. That's it for Baba. We move on. We don't want to get hung up on that. Next play. So with AMD here, 169 is really going to be that next level that we got to see tested. So I'm interested to see now that we have gotten through, got Hood on this side. Shout out to Robin Hood, new all-time high again. If you're looking, I just want to stress this, of course, with MU, we didn't really do anything on earnings, right? Not really a much move higher, nor really much move lower. So pretty much MU down about 2%, not really anything major. $4. You didn't have a huge move that like you seen take place. You didn't have a huge move on this specific ticker. So that's what I would say when I'm looking at these names. It is super, super, super duper important that I stress to make sure that you're protecting yourselves. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure that you're protecting yourself. With a name like MU that's ran up as much as it has, yes, I do believe MU has the potential to go to 200 long-term investing wise. But this is a name that's a bit overextended at this current time. So unless we're getting above this all-time high, MU is not going to do much. But watching here, I do expect a rotation into MU. I mean, excuse me, into AMD. We'll come back to AMD here in a second. I want to talk UNH real quick. This is one that's been brewing. And let me go single screen for it. Get my lines real quick. Trend line. So thank you. Let me just mark off this recent top. All right, so we're about to be right here approaching the break over 355, 356 will send UNH back to 366. I think we're going to go test there. Volume strong on it. We've seen a lot of things build. So I like UNH to take a move to about over 355. I like it to go back and test 366. So this is one with UNH. I think it's in a good position, in a good spot now. But like I said, I would just be mindful on this name. If it doesn't break that 355, it may reject and pull back down. But momentum is definitely shifting to the upside. I like the setup and where it's at out of a few of the tickers that are out there. At this time, I do like this name. Majority of the market is somewhat, like I was stressing a little bit yesterday, majority of the market is somewhat overbought at this time. So I want to go to names like Tesla, Palantir. There's a lot of names that are sitting higher, way higher than what they should be at this time. So we'll let that load up here. Perfect. Tesla back up here to what is this? 435 today. Correct. So you see, we came right down there to that 425 level. We spoke on this yesterday. We spoke as well on the 437, 440 area. So with Tesla, we did bounce at 425, so we didn't get to break below there. But you see how it's just stuck trading within this range. There's not really a crystal clear direction on where price is going to go to next. It's not just cut out where exactly this name is going to go. So we're looking at that and saying, kind of just idly waiting, waiting patiently to see, what's the next move that we can get. I think personally, when it comes to this name, Tesla can get above what's today's date? Today's the 23rd. If we can see TSLA get actually above 440 and stay above there, I think it'll shoot upward. But they do have their delivery numbers. I do want to stress that. Their delivery numbers are going to come out. That's why I said today's the 24th. The delivery numbers should come out on next Wednesday, October 1st. So that will be the deciding factor before earnings, whether we head in on a downslope or on an uptrend. So with Tesla's earnings, they will be towards the end of October, but the delivery numbers that come out will kind of decide that sentiment. So that's kind of my thought process when you are looking at specifically this name here for TSLA, right? Is that it's just a bit overextended at this time. Palantir, all of those high growth names, CrowdStrike, Circle Internet Group, Coinbase, all of those names are overextended. Even Uber. I know Uber got above 100, but then you've seen it pull back. Just not enough juice in the tank right now to really take this name further to the upside. So we're sitting here, we're waiting on Uber still to kind of take this break up to the upside. But a lot of the names are overextended. Snowflake, another one of the high growth names. ARM, Okta, Datadog, Hood. Hood obviously is overextended, still running. TTD is posed, looks actually good at that four. It's up this week in the past 5 days. TTD is up about 5%. So it came off that level. We spoke on TTD last week. But all across the board, majority of stocks are overvalued, propped up, maybe in places they shouldn't be, and got there so fast. Roblox, you notice Roblox stopped moving after their recent earnings report. So a lot of those names just don't have that gas in the tank right now. So until we get some sort of major catalyst to the downside for a breather, we're not pulling back hard at all. So major pullback wise, if you listen to last night's call and you catch up, we talked about 2026 and 2027 kind of being that moment where a lot of these companies are going to have to start really delivering on the numbers that they projected and put out there. A lot of those companies are going to have to really, really, really start projecting, putting those numbers out there that they projected to do. So that's where we're at. Majority of stocks are at some form of major resistance level, hence the SPY. I want to give you guys these SPY levels and make sure you guys set these alerts on the SPY. Yesterday, we just had a small pullback, but the volume was not strong enough. So like I said yesterday in the chat, I do have some alerts for 660 on the SPY. And then for the QQQ, I have an alert for 590, just in the event that we see a pullback, right? And we come back down to those levels just to get alerted to say, okay, markets is dropping a little bit. The key tickers we discussed, Microsoft, they couldn't do it. They couldn't get above 517. NVIDIA could not get above. Right now they're at 179, but they still have not been able to break over 184. So NVIDIA is still lagging a bit behind compared to where we see kind of the rest of the market. So when I do look here, there's a couple things that I do notice. Also, names like Meta Platforms are kind of stalled out. The 800 campaign put a pause on it. And hold on 1 second, real quick. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Oracle. I'm not sure how many people took this, but I need to make sure. Oracle, I came in the chat yesterday. So I cut the chat for a reason, just to make sure. I know you guys still had that channel, but just to make sure nothing gets lost, because I think sometimes things can get lost. I spoke on this yesterday, but Oracle just got back to that 303. So that's why I just had an alert that just went off. So that's why I paused. So if you are in that Oracle, you took that Oracle position, you had looks like they moved mine. You had a DT, a double top here on Oracle that pretty much took place right there at the 330 mark. So price ended up pulling back. That's why we dropped $27 since then. The level that we still want to see broken on Oracle, because it got this wide gap that filled all the way back to about 260. So on Oracle, underneath 290, there's a lot of area for this to pull back. Someone asked me, I think it was Miss Linda Thomas. She asked me yesterday about Oracle. And I think she asked me, was it a good time to buy? And the answer was no. And 5 months, right? Oracle is up from $100 to, it pretty much went up from $100 to $350, peaking out at. So the answer to that is no. I would not be chasing this name. I think this name is likely to pull back. Doesn't mean that it's a bad company. We understand what they're doing, but this name is definitely overextended. So that 290 level is going to be very pivotal, very pivotal. If it can test back down there at this level and Oracle gets below 290, this thing will flush. Up until there, it will just kind of just trade sideways if it doesn't break below 290. But so what would I do? I would set an alert for 292, just so you know when it gets back around that level, so you can pay attention. So just wanted to make that note on this time on that ticker. Just wanted to go through that. And speaking of Oracle, Oracle's raising $15 billion from a corporate bond sale. So it makes sense why the stock dropped today. Yep. So they're raising cash for their next moves. So in my opinion, that'd be a short pullback. I need to discuss what's today? Keep forgetting. You're right. September 24th. I need to discuss this ticker. CR. We're reaching this time. So if you do a quick search, and I want everyone to do this quick search, all I want you to do is go to Google. And what I want you to do is type in CRWV, which is CoreWeave, and I want you to put in lockup period. And I want you to tell me what you see. This is why you got to be paying attention, and you got to have these notes down. All right. So I just dropped the link into the chat. This is all I did. Right. So I actually just dropped that link into the chat. Boom. So CoreWeave, IPO lockup period was an event expiring 2 days after the company's second quarter earnings. Another lockup period was expected to expire on September 24th, 2025 was today's date. That's why I asked what today's date was, right? September 24th. The lockup period was tied to the release of CoreWeave's second quarter earnings. It expired 2 days after the earnings report, right? So another lockup period pretty much just is expiring actually today, allowing a large portion of the outstanding shares to be sold, right? So let's go to Yahoo Finance and let's type in CoreWeave. All right, CRWV. Go to statistics. Oops, there we go. Obviously not a profitable business, but you look at here, the market cap in March, right? Consider this, right? The market cap in March of this year was 17 billion. It's at 64 billion today. Outstanding shares, they got about 380 million. Shares outstanding that is short, about 6%. They have total cash of about 1.1 billion with a debt load of 14.56. So this is a company with a profit margin of negative 28%. So looking at CoreWeave, Let's go on a weekly time frame. So we bounced out of this $88 level. We came and rallied there. Let's talk levels real quick with CoreWeave. So honestly, over 150, I think the trend will start to break in the opposite direction, right? So if we can get over 150, this name will become back and start pushing to the upside, significantly. So when I see, this move specifically on this name, we have, my thoughts is valuation wise, I want to see, do we start to see more selling? So right here at 133, price shot like a cannon right outside it, right up to this upside level. Now we're rejecting here at 133. So I want to see, do we start making a move below 125 and getting towards 116? The next major market pullback will include CoreWeave and Circle Internet Group getting torn to shreds. I did a conversation yesterday about new IPOs and just kind of my thought process when it comes to them. So I'm going to pull up, we'll leave MU here. I'm going to pull up Snowflake, right? Just a good example. Snowflake is still a company that's not profitable on a consistent basis. Yes, my recommendation was at 140 to buy this name, which is up here to 225. But when it first came into the market, just like Coinbase and a lot of these other tickers, they don't always they have this point where they start off well, but when the lockup period ends and the selling really starts to become induced, or something in the macro time frame and environment changes, we see, a huge move. We see a huge move downward, right, on these names, more likely than not. So to me, this is why I'm very cautious with a lot of these new IPOs. I get that they're very, if you get into them early, obviously you make some money. But these are names that people, in my opinion, should be a bit nervous on. I get that they have some nice trading volume. And let's take a look at Circle, right? Internet Group. Another one of those speculative names at this time. And just go to the 4-hour time frame on each of these just to kind of show their most recent behavior. They had a nice move out of $107, but all they're doing is really forming a rising wedge. Realistically, that's all that's happening here on these names, Circle and as well CoreWeave. So yes, they've shot. Obviously, the markets are back up here to an all-time high. The speculative names have ran, etc. So we get that. But the break, we start to break these key levels out of this rising wedge. We're going to see both of these names come downward. So Circle and CoreWeave, no recommendation to necessarily go out there and short them yet, but make sure you guys have these levels set: 130 for Circle, 125 and 116 for CoreWeave. If that SPY and that QQQ comes downward, these can be two go-to names to look to the downside. Once again, the SPY and the QQQ coming downward, breaking that 660 and that 590 on the Q, 660 on the SPY, CoreWeave and Circle Internet Group will get rotated out of. Right? So just to kind of make those notes, lockup period there. All right. So we just don't have enough juice right now. And I see we're looking here. Let me pull up the Qs. Let me pull up the SPY real quick. We're here at 663. So like I said, 660 is what I'm watching for. Also, if you look on the larger time frame, like just look at just the daily time frame. Same thing that I was just saying, like since pretty much the beginning of this month, we are in a rising wedge pattern. So we have a rising wedge pattern that's built here on the S&P 500. So the SPY, since September 2nd, that Tuesday, if you remember when we sold off and everybody came back from Labor Day and the SPY dropped to about 635 that day. Since that rally, we are now up here to 663, peaking out at about 667, almost 668. Apple's made their run. Microsoft's done their thing. NVIDIA made their run. But now we're here at 597 right now on the QQQ. NVIDIA is not able to bust through. Let me pull up NVDA. We'll replace them here. Nvidia is not cracking this 184. It has still a decent bullish setup, but it's not cracking it right now. Like we're still the point where I say, okay, Nvidia can really drop is 164. So you still got $14 left of major support for Nvidia. If it's to lose 164, that's where the hot air comes out of this balloon. So write that down. 164 is when the trend changes completely on Nvidia. So it could fall to 170 and bounce again, but underneath 164 is where Nvidia is going to find itself to be in a bit of trouble, a little bit, right? Nothing crazy, but this then opens the door to start coming back into this range. So if I told people that Nvidia would drop $20 to $25, just imagine what would happen to the QQQ. If your number one ticker, right, you go here to ETF.com, your number one ticker, right, and your index drops $20 to $25, there's no ETF that can withstand that on this market. No ETF that can withstand their number one ticker pulling back $20 to $25. Unless, from a percentage standpoint and price, of course, if ASML or Eli Lilly and company, we're talking about those, a little bit different conversation. It would take more. But Nvidia is a less than $200 company. So $20 to $25 is a lot. Microsoft dropping $20 would even still hurt as well to QQQ. It's a $500 company, but it still would hurt. Apple dropping $20, definitely. AVGO dropping $20, of course, the same thing as well. Meta's $20 is a bit different based upon its price perspective. Also, Meta doesn't sit number one here in this ETF. They have less than 4%, where Nvidia is worth 2 times as much holding allocation than Meta. There was once a time where Nvidia was not even in the top 10. Now they're double what Meta brings to this ETF. So the reliance on Nvidia to go up is what will drop the SPY because of how, and the QQQ, right? The reliance on Nvidia, hear me carefully, I'm going to say that again. The market is relying on Nvidia to run this train upward. Now it's trying to get Apple to get a little bit of love, but we all know that Apple can only run so far. They're not in growth mode. They're in value mode. So you may see Apple, if some of the big tech names start to get rotated out of, get some, you may see Apple make a move. We got Tesla up here to 437, ladies and gentlemen. Alert just went off. Keep those alerts on. It's up 2.5%, a little over 2.5%. You may be saying, well, how is hold on. AVGO, 1 second. Add those alerts. AVGO, what was the level from yesterday? Right, on Broadcom, ticker Broadcom. Alert just went off, 33.36. I had an alert. I want everyone to go to their brokerage right now. I want you to do this for me. In the position to come in the updates tab, I want you to go to AVGO on its options chain. And here's what I want you to do. AVGO, I want you to go buy puts. I want you to put these puts out for December 19th. I want you to go grab you a 350 or a 340 put. I want you to do that right now on AVGO. I want you to go to your brokerage account and grab 350 or 340 puts on Broadcom. It's at 334 right now. So I want you to take a pause. We'll take a pause on teaching real quick. 1 second. I want everyone to do this and get into this position. Major gap to the downside on Broadcom. The ticker AVGO. I want you to go to that company. I want you to go to the options chain. I want you to go to December 19th. I want you to grab a 340 or 350 put. Now, you could go November. I'm just letting you know November is a lot closer than December 19th. November, I'm not mad at. If you got to go November, I'm not mad at it. But I just want you to understand that doesn't give you a lot of time for the position to play out, because we are here at the end and it's November 21st. So I want you to go to your brokerage and grab those AVGO puts. Broadcom, ladies and gentlemen. Broadcom, AVGO. I want you to go and grab those puts for me. Yep. Ticker ABGO. So what's the ticker again? What's the strike? December 19th. Want you to go and get it. Puts, December 19th. November 21st gives you 58 days. December 19th obviously gives you a bit more. So you can look at that. I would say the 340 strike would suffice enough. 350 obviously would give you a higher delta and a better delta to theta ratio if you went 350 in the money. Target wise, underneath 331, we got some room to come down here. Got some room to come down here. So that 331 is going to be very, very, very pivotal. Very pivotal on 331. So I want you to look at that. Look at that very closely. So AVGO, we want to see a move below this 331 to continue to push downward. So December 19th, once again, hear me carefully, that should allow you enough time to be able to allow this move to play out. Right? AMD did reject at 164, so they're not ready yet. They're not ready yet. All right, let me get back to teaching here. So as I was saying, you're looking here, they're reliant, 100% reliant on NVIDIA. So this 175, that's going to be the true test. Now, C-Core we've down about 1 to 126 today. UNH didn't have a volume either, so they just got sold down. Like I said, at 355, they could see that rejection. They did. They didn't have enough juice, right? Pulled back already. So that's why I set this line there. They need to break that line in order to prompt you really to have a strong entry. They wick down here on the 30-minute time frame. You'll see this wick. They sold off. So not enough juice in the can right there for UNH to take off there. AMD, the same thing, rejection. So if you're paying attention to the way price action is moving, it's showing you that even with some of the setups that may look decent, well, where the volume, even Tesla, this is Tesla's time to shine again here today. Can TSLA actually make a move above 440? This is showtime again, showtime. Tesla needs to get above this 440, seriously, because if it doesn't, Tesla will come right back down here to this downside. That level right there at 444. Want you to put that, I'm just taking the higher wicks. So outside of that, of course, this could happen, especially if those delivery numbers come in strong where Tesla can actually get above. But outside of that, that's where I see really the weakness at. All right. So AVGO is right here at a 336. So like I said, we're looking at the December puts. I think it gives you a solid, decent entry here now. Taking a move down to 331. And below that, we could see a drop on Broadcom all the way to 316. So we expect some rotation out of Broadcom. And once again, we're not expecting that to happen today or tomorrow. But as price keeps hitting that level, we do anticipate that it gets a bit weaker. Right. So those are my thoughts on that. Oracle bounced at 303. So we were able to stay upright on Oracle so far.
No. I'm just
once again, the 290 level, hey, 290 level is very, 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 very important to pay attention to. 290 on Oracle. Underneath that, a nice large gap to the downside. So I think that one should be pretty much clear. You see Tesla again here trying to make a move. It has to get above and stay above. What's the confidence level? I think I'm 50-50 on it happening. If someone said percentage-wise, base it out. What you think happens, L? If someone asked me that, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm 50% confident that it breaks. I'm also 50% on the other side saying, hey, if it doesn't break, it'll pull back and bring the arc down. And it could just pull back. So that's where I'm at. It's really 50-50 split on the direction of where Tesla goes next. Can't really get solid either way right now. Obviously, if the delivery numbers come out really well, then Tesla will probably fly over this and be at 465 on Wednesday. So let's say we go into next Wednesday and Tesla's here in the same spot and the delivery numbers come out and they do well. I think you could see Tesla get over that 444 and shoot up $20 for sure. Let's say the delivery numbers aren't. Let's say they're underwhelming and not to the street's expectation. I would watch 425 and I would watch 414, and underneath that, $400 a share. That's what you have to pay attention to the closest when it comes to TSLA. 425, 414, and 400. So underneath, you see yesterday we went to 425 but didn't break. We bounced. All right. So 425 is where a lot of the buyers are at, ready to tick that thing back upward. And that's why the stock is up today. But below that 425 level, it's likely that we see move downward back towards 415. So, yep. That's my thoughts on that ticker. Meta Platforms. I need to pull up Meta real quick. So Meta hit the 780 target and obviously just pulled back. Meta is right here to 780. Let me go single screen for them real quick. Show this bad boy. So right here, hit that 780, pull back, boom. So watch 740 on ticker Meta. We was just speaking about them holding allocation as far as NVIDIA being 2 times what Meta is to the QQQ. But you want to pay close attention to the XLC ETF. Let me actually just pull this ETF first. And with this XLC, I think we got to be mindful. Google's had its run. Google, Netflix, and Meta. This is why you got to know your ETFs. So Netflix reports earnings 10/21. Put that on your calendar now. 10/21 for Netflix. They're currently at 12/15. If Netflix breaks below 11.95 again, after that, I want you guys to 11.95. I want you guys to pay attention. Excuse me, it's 11.96. 11.96. That's where Netflix drops below. When you see this break below, it can pull back to 11.72. Outside of that, my thoughts is if Netflix can remain upright, there's a path to getting towards 1,300. There is a path that we can see Netflix getting here to the upside. But that can only happen with a solid report movement-wise for this ticker. But on the downside, if XLC is to pull back, the keyest level is 1150. Let's say Netflix, which once again could always happen, but it looks to me like Netflix is losing a bit of its momentum. The only thing that can push this up higher is breaking over 1270. It tried to do it early in this month, but it was not successful in doing so. So with Netflix, those are my thoughts on this name at this time. I want to get people to understand volume, right? So let me go to the economic calendar. You got a ton of Federal Reserve people speaking. The PCE report comes out Friday. But we're also on the outside. We just had Micron Technologies, just went ahead and reported earnings. But we don't have any earnings coming up outside of, obviously the ones that come up in October. So earningswhisper.com. You go here to Earnings Whisper, take a look at your earnings calendar. And you look at the calendar, you don't see you see there's still some names. I don't want to discount these names. But as you go into, majority, you got Nike here on the 30th, next Tuesday, September 30th. So you got a couple, but it kicks up really that second week of October. This is where you're going to see a lot of these names start to go ahead and report again, right around the 15th and the 16th. This is where you should start to see a ton of the banking stocks start to go ahead and report, right? And so as they report, that's where I think we'll see some more. But right now, I don't anticipate that we're going to have a high amount of volume. So any position that you're looking to take, I think you should be very careful as far as not just only entries wise, but also mindset of understanding, okay, some things are going to take some time to really cook before making their next move, right? So that's my main thought, just on the market overall, volume wise. I see Tesla pull back here a little bit, but like I said, it just doesn't have that volume enough right now to really break. This is ideally a really good time for my people that are option sellers. I was having some good conversations about covered calls. With the market trading at a premium, call options, you should actually be able to collect a pretty much a decent amount of premium right now on a lot of these call options. you really should be able to collect a decent amount of premium on these call options here. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, I'm just going to use, let's just use Oracle and AVGO. Not saying you do it on these, but I want you to think about all the stocks that have been running and now are sitting at key resistance points. And think about how much these options have become juiced. So the IV, let's go to the whiteboard real quick so I can actually illustrate this for people to see. 1 second. Let's load this up. All right. So when you do think about a couple of things here, let's write this down so everyone kind of has a picture perfect kind of understanding and outlook. So the IV is juiced. A lot of stocks have 80 to 100% IVs on their contracts right now. And that's because, funny enough, OKLO is down to 135 today. They're down $7. And so I want everyone to go to the OKLO options chain for a second here. Once again, I haven't even looked at it myself today. So I just want you to go ahead and do that real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let's look at OKLO, please. I want you to go to their options chain and let's just look at October 17th. All right. Now I want you to look at the stock is down $7 today. And I see that the options are down about 25% for October 17th. Let me go to November 21st. You're down about 20%. Excuse me, 16%. 16%. On December 19th, same thing, about 16%. Now, when you take a look at the put options, let me go on this side. For October 17th, the OKLO put options are only up about 10 to 12%. And the main thing that's happening here is that the options are becoming juiced. So even though OKLO is down 7%, excuse me, $7, the calls are actually down more percentage based than what the put options have actually increased by. So I want to explain that again real quick. All right. Hold on 1 second. You should be able to see right there. You should be able to see it now. Yeah. And let me see. Hold on 1 second. I gotta make sure everybody's muted. So when you see here now, we're down about $7, right? You go to your options chain. How do I see what you're saying? You got to go to your options chain. Whatever platform that you're on, if you type in any ticker, you're on Robinhood, you're on Thinkorswim, you have to go to your options chain to be able to see that. And it will tell you directly how much your option is down by for the day. If you're on First Trade, you're on any of these platforms, that's how you see it. What I would stress is a lot of people need to start using mobile versions. I really need to start stressing that more and more. A lot of people need to start using mobile versions so they can see full scope. Sometimes just being on the desktop, you're not seeing everything that somebody else is seeing if you're not on the mobile version as well. Mobile version is easiest to access, easiest to see. It makes it simple for you. So platform use, there's tons of videos out there on how to use your platform. So please do some due diligence for yourself so you know exactly how to use your platform. IV. So this is where we talk about here, now when I take a look at these contracts and what I would stress, right, is now the volume is now lower on these puts, right? So the volume's lower on these puts and the volume is high on the calls because everyone's in calls. The VIX is, where the VIX at today? The VIX is at what? 15? Excuse me, 16. 16. The VIX is at 1681. When the VIX breaks 20, that's where we're going to see. And if you notice, the VIX is usually at about 13, 14 when the market is at all-time highs, right? But now the VIX is at almost 17. So even if you're looking at the VIX, people are not really sure where the market goes next. So all it takes is one bad day. And this is where I don't think some people are accounting for that NASDAQ negative 2%, which if we take We're at 597. We times that by 2%. That's $11. So 586, right? Now we take the SPY, which is at 662. We'll just say 662, and we times that by 2%. That's $13. So SPY 649, right? These are the levels for the 2% down. This is what a pullback is. I'm very interested to see when that happens. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later. What happens here, right, with the implied volatility? Because and these names, right, that have been running, right, what they look like on those days. Just giving some examples of some of those names. What do they look like on those days when this happens? Right? Hood, RBLX, Tesla, right? Going through those names of tickers, Palantir, PLTR here at 180. You notice it's not getting past this 180. It's a little frustrated, right? So the volume, let's see what Snowflake does. Now, just putting these names, just giving you guys some examples of names that you should look at on this next downside. So that all in all is what I see. The volume is going to be low today, just like it was yesterday, and it'll probably be low for the rest of the week. So majority of the moves that you see will come from low volume, right? Majority of the moves that you're going to see are going to come from low volume. So this is not the time to be really aggressive, right? This is not the time at all to be really aggressive. So now to me, it's time to go ahead and lay off trading all day. I want everybody to take like a 2 to 3 week low period. And I'm stressing this right now. You're going to see what I'm talking about. It might not make sense, but after these 2 to 3 weeks go by, it makes sense to what I'm saying to you right now. Don't be in the Discord all day. Do not sit at the computer screen all day. And here's why. Everyone should have this. So go ahead and screenshot this or whatever you need to do. Screenshot this real quick because I'm about to erase it. All right. So go ahead and screenshot this real quick. If you haven't got it already, go ahead and screenshot it. Yeah. So it should be all available for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So here's what's going to happen. Next 3 weeks. Right? And so what you want to stress is you got to make sure you're following the screen, guys. I know we got 179 people. It says only 156 are following. So you got to make sure you're following the screen. That's the only way you're going to see it. So when it comes to it, you think about I'll just say the last 6 weeks. You've been able to be more on the offensive side, right? The next 3 weeks is more defense. Now you got the bag, it's time to keep it. Keep the bag. That's the mindset the next 3 weeks is now let's keep the bag. Don't give none of this money back to the market. You made money from Oracle, you made money from ABGO, you know what I'm saying? You made money from whatever tickers, you made money from Hood, you made money from Baba, all of these tickers, you made money from AXP, all-time high, you made money from Caterpillar, right? I'm just giving the examples, right? And so you got to really stress that when it comes to these names, you got to make sure that you're not obviously these names have done well, and there's obviously other names, even Tesla, right? I don't even think I put Tesla. We called that as well. So TSLA, right? Up here. Now it's time to really keep the bag, right? So that's what I really want to stress. Open, etc. Right? So now it's time to keep it. You have a lot of moves off of low volume right now. So I think it's time to just go and just chill. That's the one word that I want you to take. Chill, relax, study up, obviously have time, and then also that word patience. The moves, all of these moves will come off of low volume. But now we're looking to see a move downward with levels that we defined, right? So we defined 649. That's the negative 2% move on the SPY. And then as well, we have outside of that, we have 586. So we're not saying anything major happens, but just in the case of we think we could see a 2% pullback, right? We don't expect 5 or 10. We're not looking for something like that. So we do think that we could see a move here on the downside of SPY and QQQ, 2% each one. Chill, relax. Last 6 weeks, you've been on offensive side. Next 3 weeks, kind of leading right there. I want you to go on the defensive side and be more defensive. So that's really what I would say. The volume and main reason as to why was the whole reason for this conversation today comes down to one word, and that's just volume. When you look at this one word, volume, the volume will not be as high as it was the past 6 weeks, the next 3. And that's the reality on why I'm saying what I'm saying. So a lot of moves can happen, and when low volume is here, low volume creates false breakouts. We'll see the setup is there, but when it's low volume, it can't play out properly, right? A lot of times it can't play out properly. So when the volume is low. All right. So that's pretty much it for now. You should have all these notes. Everyone should be able to see everything. This call was recorded. I'll go ahead and post this thing up as soon as it comes in. But that's really all the notes there for now. Also, Apple. Let me just make this super, super, super clear. All right. The recording from yesterday's classes, let's go through that just to make sure that everyone understands where to go get it. The recordings are all available. Apple, I want you to set an alert for 250 before I forget about that. Just have an alert for 250. Obviously, the same levels to the upside. The recordings are all here. Information and resources. Time and dated. 9/23 right there for you. Information and resources. If it's a weekly watch list, it'll be here. 9/21 sitting right there for you. Beginner classes all come there. Live trading, you'll probably see this just 2 places, right? Because I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to also put it here. Those are 4 recording tabs. That's where you go and take a look at there. Yep. That's where you go and take a look there. Yep. Shopify didn't break through 158, so that's why it's not moving. Same thing that I said about Tesla, that 437, same level. I put those 2 next to each other. Shopify needs to break 158. It tested it, but it didn't do it. So that's why Shop didn't break. That's it for today. I appreciate everybody for their time. We'll wrap up here.